Hi, everyone, and welcome to Manny's Paranormal, where I tell paranormal stories, true stories that actually happened to me. And I will be telling some stories about my son and other family members. I was involved in them. But today I want to talk about a house that I lived in. It was actually the first house that I ever rented. I was just a kid. I was homeless at 17. And back then, things were just different. You know what I mean? You could get away with things you can't get away with now. But I was looking for a place to live. I had a job. I already had a job, and I was talking to a friend of my dad's, and he lived on the street I grew up on, and he lived in this little one bedroom house. Now, this story connects me to that house, but then I have a history with that house throughout my life, all the way until I was 22 when I got married. So it starts when I was a little kid. I was 5 or 6 years old, and we lived on the street. And this is in the Richmond area, Richmond, California area. And a bunch of my relatives lived on that street. We're Portuguese. Everybody kind of congregates. But there was this woman that lived on the street in this house that I have this long connection to after this story. So this poor woman, she was in her 80s, and nobody ever came to see her. She was, my dad was friends with her, my mom, a few people in the neighborhood, but like her family, her kids, nobody ever came to see her. So she was on oxygen, and back now they had these little oxygen tanks, but back then they had like the big oxygen tanks that you see in the hospitals and stuff. So once every week, or maybe it was every 2 weeks, I was little, but my dad felt bad for her, and he would go down because she couldn't move that tank in her house and connect the new one and put the old one back out. So they would leave this oxygen tank on her front porch. So my dad, he knew when it came, and on his way home he'd see it on the porch. So he got home and he asked my mom. He said, I don't remember the woman's name. She was a nice old lady, but he said, did she call? And my mom said, no, she hasn't called. So my dad, we had dinner and everything. My dad's like, man, I'm getting worried. I'm just going to walk down there. So I went with my dad. We went down there and we're knocking on the door and we're getting no response. So there was these are little tiny houses, and there was a kitchen window. It was up high and it was a small window and it was cracked. And my dad, I saw him look through and he was like, oh no, I heard him whisper. I go, what's wrong? He goes, look, he goes, I'm gonna put you through the window because I could just fit. And he goes, I don't want you to stop. She's laying on the ground. I don't know what's going on, but just run to the door and open the door and see if we can help her. I'm like, all right. So he puts me through the window. I do exactly what he says. I climb down, I run to the front door, but I could tell just by walking by she was dead. I think she had a heart attack while she was cooking because the burner was on, and there was like a pot of beans all over. So poor thing probably had a heart attack or something. So my dad came in, called the police, the whole 9 yards. So okay, now we're going to fast forward to about 10 years later, maybe 11, 12, I don't know. I was 17. It was probably a couple of weeks before my 18th birthday, but I was homeless and I really needed a place to live. I was staying with friends. I was sleeping in an abandoned house where nobody was living in it. And my dad's friend lived in that little house where we found the older lady dead when I was a kid. And I was down there talking to him. I'm like, man, I got to find a place to live. I had a job already. I was on my own. I already had a job. I was working as a welder. So he tells me, he goes, look, man, he goes, my mom's really sick. And he goes, why don't you just move in? He goes, you could have everything. I'm moving in with her. She got a really nice house in Alameda, and I'm going to inherit everything. I'm good. You can have the bed, the couch, everything, even the TV. I was like, man, that's good. Good deal. He goes, just move in and start sending the rent. She won't question it. She's like 90. She never comes here. I'm like, all right. So he moved out. I moved in, and I started sending the check. So now I live in this house, and I turned 18 a couple of weeks later, but I was scared. I went to work. I did what I was supposed to do, and I paid the rent on this place. But the place came with a catch. I think that old lady was still there, or somebody was still there, because I remember that first, I think it was within a week. I came home from work. I was exhausted. And at the time, I've always trained martial arts. I'm still a kickboxing instructor. And back then I wanted to be a professional kickboxer. And that ties into this story too. So I had class at like 7. I got home at like 5:30. I was like, I got to get an hour nap, you know. And somebody had given me a waterbed. Like a week after I moved in there, somebody gave me a waterbed. So anyway, there was a waterbed in the picture. And I went in the back because it was just, you walk into the living room, you went to this little hall, there was a bathroom, a shower was on the other. So it was like they made a closet into a shower. You go through a little kitchen, and then there was a little bedroom. So I go in the back bedroom, I lay down, take my shoes off, and I lay. I just want to get like 30 minutes, 45 minutes before I got to go, because it's just going to be a 2-hour hard workout, right? And I lay down, I'm laying there, I'm still awake, and I'm kind of looking at the wall, and I'm thinking about the day, and I'm kind of relaxing. And I feel somebody or something sit down in the bed and lay down. Dude, I scared the shit. I jumped up, man. I looked over, there was nothing there. I sprinted out of that bed. I went in the living room, and I lived in that living room. I only went in the back bedroom to get clothes or whatever. I slept on the couch. I never slept in that room again until I got married. So that scared the hell out of me. And you know, there were some creepy things in the house. Sometimes you would hear shit, and it kind of creeped me out, you know? So then I got a couple more experiences that happened at this house. So at the time, I wanted to be a professional kickboxer. That was my dream, right? So I would train 4 or 5 nights a week at this martial arts school in Richmond. Shout out to Solus Martial Arts, still a good friend of mine. And after class, I had a lot of energy. I was in good shape back then. But after class, I would run 5.5. It was almost 6-mile run after I already worked out. So it would be late, you know what I mean? So I would come home from the gym. I would change, put my sweatpants, my tank top on if it was, you know, summer. This just happened to be in the summertime. And drink a little water, stretch, boom, gone. I'd hit it, and I'd run up San Pablo Avenue, cross over McDonald Avenue, 23rd all the way home. It was like 5.65, almost right under 6 miles. So this night I'm jogging, and you want to keep your cardio up, because a lot of times it's a war of attrition. You guys might have the same skills, but if you have better cardio and you can outlast this guy, you're going to beat him. So I'm hoofing, and I've been doing this for months, so I'm in pretty good shape at this point. And I go up San Pablo Avenue, and I hit down McDonald. Now, I don't know how many people know about Richmond, but McDonald Avenue in Richmond at like 10:30, 10:45 at night, not a good place to be. McDonald Avenue in Richmond is, we're in the ghetto. So you got to know, you got to, you know, keep an eye out. You got to keep your wits about you, and you got to know where you can and where you can't go. So anyway, I'm hoofing. I'm coming. I turn. I'm on McDonald Avenue. I get about halfway down McDonald Avenue, and I'm at a good clip. You know what I mean? I'm not running. I'm not sprinting, but I'm at a pretty good pace. And up ahead of me, I'm about halfway. And up ahead of me, I see this person walking. And as I get closer, I realize it's a woman. I'm on the sidewalk. So I'm like, you know, I don't want to scare this person or nothing. She was a real short little woman with long, stringy hair. I mean, short, like maybe a 4 something. But anyway, so I veer out in the street trying to be polite. You know what I mean? I don't want to scare somebody coming. And she was walking like the penguin. She was limping. Like, it was creepy. It's 10:30, 10:45 at night on McDonald Avenue in Richmond. A woman shouldn't be down there. You know what I mean? It was just weird. There was nobody else around, and the street lights, some of the street lights were out, and it's Richmond, so they don't always replace them right away. So I'm jogging, and I go, if you're out like halfway into the lane, there's no cars or nothing, and I look over at her as I pass her, and she looks up at me, and this woman was fucking scary, son. She was scary. She had this fucked up looking face like a witch or something, dude. It fucking scared. My big 19-year-old kickboxing ass was scared. I took off. So I got scared. I sprinted down San Pablo Avenue. McDonald Avenue. And I'm running. And I had about 4 blocks to where I made my turn. So I hoofed it. I took off. And I'm sprinting. I'm just trying to get away from it. And she's, you know, and I fly. I go like maybe a little over 3 blocks. I can see my turn now, and they're gone now, but it was called Doggy Diner right on the corner, and there's people out, so I can see it. I'm thinking, all right, I'm pretty safe now. I'm going to slow down. And I heard something behind me. I look back. She's fucking right there, right like 5 feet from me. That shit scared the shit out of me. I fucking took off. I sprinted, made my turn on 23rd, and I sprinted at like another 2-3 blocks. And I kept looking back. I was scared, man. What this bitch is doing, you know? And then it freaked me out, you know? So I just hoofed it home as fast as I could. I get back home, and now I'm kind of freaked out. You know what I'm thinking? Fuck, I've watched too many scary movies and shit as a kid, you know? So I get in my house, I lock the door, and I peek it out the windows and shit. And I'm thinking, you know, oh, I'm watching these fucking 80s scary movies, 70s scary movies and shit, you know, like Salem's Lot and shit. I'm expecting her to come to, hey, you know what I mean? But she didn't. She wasn't out there or nothing. And, you know, it scared the hell out of me. So then that happened to me in that same house where I found the lady. Felt like somebody laid on my water bed, so I couldn't sleep back there anymore. But I didn't have any other place to go. You know, this was home for me. So one night I was out with my friends. We were partying. And I was a single guy, young single guy, and it was late. I want to say I got home at like 2. You know, I was out with the fellas. You know what I mean? So I come home. And I go in the kitchen, I'm getting something to eat. I got a little buzz on, you know what I mean? I'm not going back to that fucking bedroom. So I'm planting my ass on the couch. I got my TV on, you know what I mean? And, you know, I got my stuff set up to eat. And I'm sitting there and I hear this. Now it's like 2:30 in the morning, dude. I'm like, some of my homeboys back then, you know what I mean? They would come by late like that. But I live in the ghetto, dude. You don't just open your fucking door. And I didn't have a gun or nothing at the time. You know what I mean? So I ain't opening that door. And I'm like, who is it? And this girl, I heard this girl's voice. And she's like, Manuel, let me in. And then she would do this creepy fucking little, and I'm like, fuck, dude, that shit. I don't know. It sounded almost metallic. It was scary. And I'm like, you know my name, but who the fuck are you? And come on, man, you let me in. This weird little fucking noise. Dude, this shit is freaking me the fuck out. You know what I mean? I don't know what the fuck's going on here. It's late. You know what I mean? Who's out like this? And we were having a dialogue through the door, and I'm like, who are you? And she won't tell me. And then she does this creepy little fucking giggle after everything. It was weirding me the fuck out, dude. So I had like a baseball bat I always kept by me and shit. So I got my bat, and I'm thinking, and as she's talking, I thought I heard whispering. Not like I'm whispering to you, like creepy whispering, you know what I mean? And I was like, fuck, man, this shit is scaring the shit out of me, you know? I was thinking about maybe calling some of my friends and having them roll up, because I have friends with guns, you know what I mean? And we were and then as we're talking, I'm like, look, I'm not opening the fucking door. Tell me who you are. It just stopped. Like in the middle, like she said something, and then it just stopped. And I didn't hear anybody walk off the porch, and I'm looking out. I didn't have windows right at the front by the door where I could look out. They were on the side. But I could see, I didn't see a car. I didn't see anybody. You'd have to go that way to get off the block. It's a dead-end street. I didn't see anybody. Nobody. It scared the fucking shit out of me. I barely slept that night. And then I kept asking people, you know, like just around, did you stop by? Or, you know, I knew some girls and stuff, but nobody I knew said that, you know, oh yeah, I came by to see you, wouldn't let me in. No, man, it was fucking weird. Anyway, that house was fucking creepy. My wife and I got married. I was 22, and we lived there for about 6 months, and we moved. But man, that had that weird connection to that house. They tore it down now and built a real house there. This thing was barely habitable, but my wife's a good sport. She hung in there with me for like 6 months. But anyway, I appreciate you watching my video. I got a bunch more on my channel, Manny's Paranormal, if you want to watch some more. And if you like these kind of videos and you appreciate it, maybe give me a like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. All right, everyone, you have a great night. Thank you.